Former Trump campaign chief Steve Bannon famously defended Donald Trump against allegations of sexual misconduct, and his political operation doubled down on Roy Moore well after several independent allegations that he preyed on underage girls, decisions that have helped fuel a backlash that ranges from a record-breaking number of female candidates running for office right now this year. It's mostly Democrats running against Trump, plus these growing movements like Me Too and Time's Up. So today I asked Bannon about Time's Up, about the rising opposition to Trump among women, and whether these movements are a constructive force to advance equality and force changes on what he refers to as the patriarchy. What does Time's Up mean to you?
What Time's Up means to me is at the end of the patriarchy. It's Time's Up and the end of the patriarchy, and what they want to have is a fundamental shift in the power dynamics in society. And so I think you have the Time's Up movement, you have what I call the resistance, and then I think you have Tom Steyer's impeach the president. I think those three elements are kind of the enthusiasm on the left.
Time's Up. So you say challenge the patriarchy. Given the history of gender relations in this country and around the world, and the desire for gender equality, isn't that a good thing to revise the patriarchy, as you put it?
My oldest daughter is a West Point graduate that served with the 101st Airborne. We have a picture of her on the mantle right there, sitting on the throne of Saddam Hussein in her uniform with the 101st Airborne. You know, I'm a huge believer in equality, right? And my daughters, I think, are living proof of that, and the rest of my family. So, no, I'm a huge believer in that. I think there's some justifiable. I think in the Time's Up movement, as a subset of that, some of the things that are going on in sexual harassment, particularly in the media companies that have not been vetted with the executives, is something that really needs to be done. And so, yeah, I think I'm not 100% with the Time's Up movement, but I can see it's a very powerful political force. I was the one that said I think somebody like Oprah Winfrey will come out of that movement. It could be actually win the Democratic nomination.
I can't quite tell if you're saying it's a good thing. Bottom line, is it constructive?
I think it is constructive to always review things like this. I think some of the radicalness of that movement is not a positive thing, but I think that it's always good to question your assumptions. And so I think that some of the things that are coming out of it, particularly what we found out in some of these companies, that things that went on, I think is quite positive.
There are people who would observe that the way you talk about your daughter and what you just said about gender relations is very different from the way Donald Trump talks. Times that by a gender gap now that, as you know, is 20 points in negative views of the president. Is this party, let me finish the question and then you get your time.
Sure.
Is this party walking away from women voters or college-educated women voters?
Well, first off, you know, we won, white women 52-48 over Hillary Clinton, the first female nominee in history. I think we won white working-class women something like 69 or 70%, 70-30. And so Donald Trump does resonate with that. I realize.
Let me respond and then I'll give you more time.
Okay, fine.
The gender gap in 2016 was at 11 points, was the largest in 20 years.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but I think a lot of that was also minority women, right? And Donald Trump, you know, I think we won 8% of overall African-American voters, but I think we had a very big turnout in African-American women. But there was never a question.
And I'll give you time. The question is Donald Trump walking away and walking the GOP away from these women voters?
He's definitely not walking away. Look at Ivanka. I think Ivanka has been very engaged in women's issues. She's talking about, you know, job training and all these other things. I think she's very engaged. I think you see the way that Donald Trump has a terrific relationship with his daughter and his wife shows that, you know, what he thinks about this. I think a lot of things that people jump on some of the tweets, or they've jumped on some of the things that they, you know, allegedly happened during the campaign, right? Or women that came out during the campaign to try to stop it as we push through that. Let's go to Billy Bush weekend. I mean, Billy Bush weekend, everybody said he should resign. There's some of the Republican establishment said he should resign. People walked away from the campaign, and what he did is he presented the facts of the locker room talk, and then we went to St. Louis the next night, and I brought the people that Bill Clinton had actually molested, and I think that the American people weighed and measured that and voted in November. And you
brought adult women who were accusers of Bill Clinton,
yes,
and you said they should be heard.
Yes.
And the response from many people is, what about the accusers of Donald Trump? Should they be heard? He threatened to sue them and suggested that would resolve it. He never sued them. He's facing suits from them. And Roy Moore, who you backed, of course, faced his own accusers, including multiple women who say he preyed on them when they were under 18.
By the way,
what about if you're bringing it? You brought it up.
By the way,
you brought it up.
No,
if you're bringing it up, what about those accusers?
By the way, if they want to come forward, they should come forward. If they want to come forward, they should come forward. There are some of them are coming forward in the court system right now. So if they want to come forward, they're not shy about going after Donald Trump. But back to your question, Donald Trump hasn't abandoned women. He has not abandoned women at all. I think if you look at the economy, if you look at what he's doing across the board, that they're the beneficiaries of this. And I think Donald Trump's going to play very well.
But you bring up
women.
those accusers.
Yep.
What do you say to people who see your backing of Roy Moore, who was accused of legally worse things, and they think? And I'll finish the question, and you get time.
Hang on, that was vetted.
Steve,
hang on,
Steve, I will finish the question. I will give you your response time.
Yes, sir.
What do you say to people who say to you, is the only standard here partisanship and whether you like the candidate if you're not giving Roy Moore's accusers the same time?
Well, by the way, Roy Moore's accusers had time during the campaign. They're going to have additional time. They came forward. They had the Washington Post. They had the biggest platforms in media. Roy Moore was buried by that. You can't sit there and reasonably ask, did they not have adequate representation? Did they not have a platform? They had the biggest media platforms in the country. The question gets to be, how legitimate were those? Did they ever turn out to be something? And that's going to be adjudicated.
Did it ever shake your view? Did you ever say,
no,
maybe I shouldn't be with this person?
Absolutely not.
Given what these women allege.
Absolutely not. When we looked because we looked at the allegations. I don't believe them then. I did not believe them then. I do not believe them today. And if they get adjudicated over time, maybe I changed my mind. But from the facts that I saw then and the facts I see now, absolutely not.
Bottom line, and a lot of people disagree vehemently with your view of it, but bottom line, you're saying that what was a historic 11-point gap that currently is 20 with Trump and women, you think somehow it will close? I
think somehow we can definitely close it from 20. Absolutely. Do we get it to the 11? I don't know, but I think we can close it from 20. And I think more importantly, we can close it in those districts that we have to win to hold the House.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.